Welcome to Making the Cut podcast with Chris Hill and Sean Winter, where we help you succeed in life and business by sharing principles and strategies that guide some of the most successful people in the world.
Welcome to episode 13 of the Making the Cut podcast. I'm Chris Hill, my co-host Sean Winter. Sean, how are things going on your end today, buddy?
Things are phenomenal. I am super excited to connect with certified master chef Dary Shular. I've known Daryl for a couple of years now, and we even connected back in November for an interview in Entrepreneurial Chef magazine. So he was a phenomenal person to talk with. I'm so excited to be able to talk with him in a little bit of a different scope. Before was very heavy into kind of entrepreneurship, which is the context of the magazine. But now we're going to talk a little bit more of some crossover things, right? So I'm very, very excited to talk with him. He's just such a great guy, very down to earth, very humble, and has phenomenal insights. So what about you, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. I've been looking forward to this conversation we're about to have with Daryl for a couple of weeks now, since we've really gotten him on the schedule. Let me tell you a little bit about Chef Shular. As a member of the American Culinary Federation since 1993, he's received over 12 gold medals and 8 Best in Shows in local and national competitions. Additionally, in 2008, Chef Dary Shular was a member of the internationally recognized ACF United States Culinary Olympic team, which is actually the official culinary regional team representing the U.S. in international culinary competitions. They actually won the Olympic gold medal while competing against 63 other teams in Erfurt, Germany. And most impressively is in 2014, Chef Shular etched his name in the culinary history books by becoming the first African-American and minority chef to successfully pass the grueling 130-hour, 8-day test known as the Master Chef exam. Sean, I'm pumped. Why don't you kick it off for us?
Absolutely. Let's do it. Certified Master Chef Dary Shular, thank you for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Sean. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You know, we connected a little while back. You were featured in the November issue of Entrepreneurial Chef magazine. So, number one, thank you for that. But we connected a little while back and had a great conversation. We wanted to have you on this podcast here to talk about a couple of different things. But first, why don't we jump into your background, where you came from, and how you evolved into the culinary industry to begin with?
Well, I grew up in Central Florida, a little town there called Armandale, right there in between Orlando and Tampa. Came to Atlanta in 92. And then back in 1992, I was on my way to actually go play basketball at a school up in Michigan. And while I was here visiting my sister, I saw a commercial for a local culinary school. And something about that commercial really sparked something within me. I always had a fascination for food. Saw my mother do great things in the kitchen on the weekends. But I didn't know that commercial would change my life so much to where, I wanted to go into the culinary art field. And so I applied at that school, attended it. And after that, everything's history. I've been able to travel the world, open up a lot of restaurants. I was an executive chef at 23, running a very large hotel here in the Atlanta area. And then during that time, I've done a lot of competitions with the American Culinary Federation. At that time, I thought that was the right platform, and I still do believe that was the right platform for me to really get the training and the knowledge, the round scope of things. And that led me to be on the U.S. Culinary Olympic team in 2008. We attained the gold medal over in Erfurt, Germany. And then also 2014, I took the infamous Certified Master Chef exam, the 8-day, 130-hour cooking exam, and passed it and became one of 68 certified master chefs in the United States. So right now I'm just working a lot of different objects, a lot of different things that I have on my plate right now. I'm executive chef at one of the largest culinary institutions in America, really one of the largest culinary country clubs, the Atlanta Athletic Club. Large program, 8 restaurants, 82 cooks. And with all that, I'm still working on some other personal projects as well.
That's very cool, Daryl. You've got a lot of impressive feats under your belt. What are some of the things that have helped you get to that place? Is part of it being the competitive nature of in high school being a basketball player that helped you to do the Culinary Olympics and then keep striving for excellence?
Well, I think, when you grow up as a little kid, especially down in Central Florida, the only thing you had was to go outside and play out in the sunshine. So you almost kind of develop like this competitive nature just by playing with other kids in the neighborhood. And it was just amazing because even the little kids played with the big kids. And we didn't see a difference. We didn't see, the little kids being bullied by the big grown-ups. And we didn't see as grown-ups that we were doing anything wrong to the little kids. So we just all played. It was like an equal playing field. So it was something about that experience that really transitioned into my professional career to where I didn't really see the obstacles. I just saw the opportunities. I really didn't care about whether someone was in the industry longer than me, whether someone had a better education than I did, whether someone was in a different position. I just did not see that. I just saw what I needed to do, how I can be competitive with them and towards them, and watch those individuals. And the one thing that I used as a young culinarian, I always looked at the people that was ahead of me, the next step to where I wanted to be. And that was my point of reference. I never really paid attention just to my station because whatever I was working on, I mastered it, fairly quickly. But I always wanted to watch the people that had the position that I wanted to go to. So all that experience, that life, experiences I had as a kid, really over time, and I didn't know it at the time, was really helping me out in a very special way.
Now, Daryl, you said that you would look to people ahead of you. Were there periods throughout your journey, your career, where you connected with some individuals that really mentored you, took you under their wing? And if so, who were those individuals and what were some of the lessons that they taught you?
Well, I think starting out, you really don't know. One of the things that you have to learn starting out is people skills and who you can really rely on, who you should really pretty much stay away from almost. I think you can learn something from everyone, but just coming up early on in my career, there was a couple of guys that, when I was working the line, there was one individual, this gentleman named Earl, and he was a quiet older man, and he just worked the line. He just kind of kept to himself. And, one day we had our grill guy call out, and I was working the pantry fry station, and everyone was so afraid of working this grill. And I was like, you know what? I'll work the grill today. And everyone was like, what? And I said, yeah, I'm going to work the grill today. And I never worked a grill a day in my life, but I watched this guy day in and day out work that grill. And when I went down to work that grill, it took me less than 5 minutes to really master that grill. I didn't have anything coming back. I didn't have anything being returned. None of the tickets were slow. And I said all that because I remember that same guy, Earl, he pulled me to the side and he said, man, you got something special in you. He said, I can see it in you. I can see greatness in you. You just keep with the basics, stay with the fundamentals. You can be a great chef one day. And I was only 20 years old. So individuals like that, someone as simple as a line cook, can be someone of importance to anyone. And then as I was taking the certified master chef exam, the one individual that really gave me the advice that I needed was Chef Edward Leonard. And one of the things he would always tell me to do is just cook from the heart, cook with passion. And I really didn't know what he was talking about because we were so groomed to looking at recipes and methods and all these technical things that you need to know. How do you cook from the heart? And once I found that connection to really cook from the heart and really let the energy kind of flow through me, I'm talking almost like a Jedi right now, but it really paid off for me. And I think you have people throughout your career at different stages of your life giving you that key advice. Something about what they say to you sticks. And it's something about the way they say it really energizes a person, especially me. It really just propelled me to that next level. So there's so many people out there that has helped me throughout my career at different stages of my career.
That's outstanding. I want to say two things. Number one, there's a saying and it says, when the student is ready, the master appears. And I think number two, for individuals who maintain a growth mindset, they are open to learning things from anyone, right? So you can have mentors up, down, sideways, but sometimes people close off that growth mindset when they're looking behind them or even laterally and they're only looking to those mentors ahead. But if you really are open to it, you can learn lessons from everywhere, and you just proved that. I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Daryl, there's obviously a difference between becoming a great cook and becoming an executive chef or leader. Can you talk a little bit about that process for you of transitioning, really at a young age to somebody that became a leader for others, and how you've inspired people in their journeys?
Well, for me, I've always, from day one of culinary school, always felt like how I feel today. It's funny to say that, but I always felt like I was better or could be better than anyone that was around me. That energy to be the best was there. That drive and attention to detail was there. I just didn't know it then. As a young kid in culinary school at 20 years old, you just feel all this energy. And I think sometimes without maturity, it comes across as arrogance. So I guess people call me a little arrogant guy, but it kind of mellowed out over time once you start to realize that this energy that you have is a gift and not so much a reward. So with that being said, I think those traits are in a person from day one. And I think people have to believe that what they have right now will carry them through the duration of their career. They just have to build upon it, and they have to be ready to exercise the different levels of that talent at those different times in their career. So when I was a culinary student, only thing I had to do was just work hard and aggressive and get my rhythm up in the kitchen and learn how to really handle different tasks and work clean and organized and follow the basic fundamentals. Then when I became a sous chef, I had to start exercising my management skills and start to learn how to really manage people and engage with people and try to see their point of view so they can get the best results from them. And then when I became an executive chef, then I had to add on the responsibility of an operation. So now I have to understand the financials and I have to understand the forecasting and I have to be responsible for the overall financial success of the establishment. And then now as a certified master chef, now you have to exercise everything. And that's across the board, from doing all of that, plus more, plus being an innovator, plus thinking 10 years down the road right now. What are you going to do 10 years? What are you going to do 15 years? How do you motivate people who are down and out? How do you tell someone that just because you're in a certain situation don't mean that you have to be there? You have to really learn how to be a motivator. You have to start taking into consideration someone else's story versus trying to tell yours all the time. So I think we all come equipped for the journey we're meant to travel. You just only get an opportunity to exercise those gifts as you continue to grow in your career.
Yeah, I love it.
Well said. And now I want to talk about a period of time when you were faced with some adversity, because you've done some incredible things. You've risen to the highest level, especially in the culinary industry. So what was a period of time in your life when you were experiencing some challenge, some adversity, and then what did you do to overcome it, to continue this upward journey?
You know what? I want to say something that might be borderline controversial, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it because I think it's important. Being an African American in a society where people always want to use the race card for every mistake or every obstacle that they can achieve or whatnot, they pull that card out, they throw it on the table. And we all know it's there. It just depends on how you want to use it or if you want to use it at all. I never threw my race card out. Never used the fact that I was the only African American on the U.S. Culinary Olympic team, or I was the only first African American or minority to pass the CMC exam. And the most challenging piece in my whole career was listening to people who say that I couldn't do it. Because people will say it from a very, I guess, in their perspective, they was coming from a good place. They will say, well, the exam was designed for Eurocentric chefs and your ethnic chefs, and they don't want you to have it, and they'll never let you be a part of it, and they'll never let you be on the Olympic team, and it's all this particular group, club, or whatever it. And so I think for me, it's easy for people to kind of want to listen to that stuff because you think that they are preaching your language. And I want to share this with people who kind of hear people kind of putting sweet whispers in their ears, but it's really poison. You got to stay away from it. There's nothing that can stop you from your destiny. And I think for me, because I had a mother who kind of forced me to kind of like don't pay attention to what people say, it kind of paid off for me, because that was a huge challenge for me, because it was to a point where you almost believed it. You saw it every day on the news. You see it every day in the streets. And then you want to think that the culinary world is different. Well, it's not, but you can make your world different. And so I just overlooked it. I just saw myself as part of the team. I developed a brotherhood with all of my fellow colleagues that is like so special right now. What's special about those relationships is that we don't see each other every day, but when we do, we pick up where we left off. And I really have developed a massive network of family members throughout this country just through the art of cooking and being persistent and not using excuses and pushing hard. And I think that respect that they have of me, working hard to be the best, period, regardless of race or sex or whatever it may be, just trying to be the absolute best. I think that's what has really paid off for me, and it paid off in a big way. And out of everything I've went through, I think hearing people that are close to me say those things was the biggest challenge in my life.
As it relates to being a very successful African-American chef, what do you feel is your responsibility? Is it just on a personal level with the relationships you have every day, or is it something beyond that that you feel for yourself?
I think we all have a responsibility to everyone, not just to my own race and culture. I think I have obligation to really refine my cultural cuisine, and that's something that we hopefully will be able to touch on a little bit in this conversation. That's my obligation there, but I think my obligation is to people in general, because we all are examples. And especially when you think of hospitality, when you think of culinary arts, diversity is the one thing that we want the most, because a plate is nothing without diversity. If you don't have sweet and sour balance, if you don't have hot and cold balance, if you don't have height, if you don't have textures, if you don't have all these different complexities on the plate done in a simple but elegant way, you just have a boring plate. So that's the one rule of thumb that we all should agree upon. That should be the common thread that connects us all. So the obligation for me, to be honest, is not so much just to one particular culture or whatnot. I think the obligation as a certified master chef is to be an example to everyone, to say that you still have everything in you to be successful. Look at my story, look at everyone else's story, and be motivated that it can be done.
Yeah, love it.
Very inspiring. Now, can you talk to us on a granular level about that certified master chef examination, what you went through, just the grueling process, your mental state as you were going through it, and then even I would say most importantly, in my opinion, would be how did you handle the pressure? Because a lot of people sometimes, when they're striving for greatness, they meet that pressure and they buckle. I know I've been in that situation before in my past sometimes. So can you talk to us about that entire process, and especially about handling the pressure?
Oh my goodness, Sean! I went to therapy for this, man. So you're making me relive this thing all over again. As simple as I can say it, it's just cooking, and I know that's simple, but that is the reality. It's just cooking, and I think because of the mystique of the exam, the pressure of the exam, the percentage of people who pass and fail is pretty steep. I think people tend to make it more than what it really should be, and it is. You should make it everything it should be. You should respect it at the highest level, because this is something that is very, very serious and is going to change your life. The process will change your life. But it's just going into a kitchen and you having all these master chefs around you. You got one decision to make. And there's only really one decision. Do you want it or you don't? And I think you got to decide. And I think a lot of people do want it. I think everyone who do go there really, really want it. But you have to not let the little things take that away from you. And if you don't get it for whatever reason, that's fine. But fear shouldn't be one of them. And I think the one thing that I had to really buried right away was the fear, because you're going through so many emotions. I'll never forget in California, Pasadena, at the campus, day one of the exam, and you already been in California for 4 days, getting ready, setting up your room, getting everything laid out for the week. And you're standing there with your speed card, and you're standing there with your combi, and your heart is about to burst out of your chest. I kid you not, you're about to pass out. And the time is ticking, and you know that you're about to go off at 3 o'clock. You go in to set up, and it is on. And you end up spending the first hour in your emotions. And I don't know about everyone else, but I did, because I was like, oh my God, this is the exam. Everything starts flashing before your eyes. And they say your life flashed before your eyes before you're about to die. I really thought I was getting ready to die in the kitchen, man, because I went from my childhood to that moment. And before you know it, you lost an hour, and you still have 4 hours worth of work to do. So now you got to really kick it in high gear. And so you just kind of keep your head down and just do what you know how to do, and you do it well. And I think once I made it through that first day, I started to gain my confidence. And the second day, when we went into the production of the cold food platter, you drew your number, your station number, you drew your assignment. And then you're looking at, what it is that you have to produce. You want to produce something on the highest level, but at the same time, you want to have a high degree of difficulty, but you want to be able to execute it well. So it's a strategic balance there. And then you're working 12 hours to get all your meats together, all your essential preps for your cold food platter. And then on day 3, you come in, and then you have to lay out your cold food platter. And once you walk into those kitchens, the judges, the CMCs, they are there, and their job is to evaluate. And their job is to really see, have you mastered everything across the board? And I think a lot of people have mastered the art of cooking. Let's just establish that right now. There's people who have spent many years working very hard in the kitchen. They have mastered the art of cooking. But to go through that certification, there's so much more that you have to master as well. And that's your approach, how you work, how you handle your time and pressure. So back to the piece about pressure, it's there, and it's just a pressure cooker. And the longer that you're in the process, it gets harder and harder. And as you make it through the 8th day, you start getting towards the 8th day. And, as I was making my way through the 8th day, and I had some really good days, and I had some okay days, and it was some really close call days, but I went in with a pretty nice average in day 8. Day 8 was the monster. Day 8 was the day where everything is do or die. There's really no mistakes allowed, and rightfully so. And I think a lot of people look at that and say that's not fair, but it is fair, because you're carrying a burden that you have to carry with you for the rest of your life. And they want to make sure, can you carry it with pride, and can you represent the brand the way that it should be? And it's all on you. I mean, you can't, people will say, well, you kind of got through it because you had someone there rooting for you. Well, you can't fake your way through 8 days of cooking. And no matter how much fanfare you have, or you think you have in the judge's room, which there is not, you can't fake your way through that at all. You really have to hold your own ground and stand on your own 2 feet. But just getting through it, day 8, double duty day, you're running real hard. You don't get any sleep the night before. You're really functioning on fumes. And what really helps you out is the people around you. You see other chefs really going through the same thing, and you end up motivating each other. I never forget standing there next to Chef Jonathan Moose Miller, who passed the exam with me. Him and I was on station 1 and 2, and we both knew that we was in the top, and we was really close to to doing this thing, and we were just rooting each other on. And keep it going, Jonathan. Keep it going, Big D. They had that little special name for me, and we just kind of pushed ourselves through it, and it really strengthened our bond as a family. But I know that's a lot to say. There's a lot that goes into the exam, but it's just really cooking at the highest level, but doing it in a way where you can handle the pressure, you can manage the company that is with you, you can orchestrate your station like a DJ DJing in the booth. Everything is just flowing in and out. You got rhythm in the kitchen. You got movements with purpose. You're not making multiple trips to the cooler. You're not making multiple trips to the dish pit. You know when to prep things, when not to prep things, how to time your mise en place cycle, how to orchestrate your oven, having certain things in hot spots and things in the more comfortable zones, and just knowing all those little essentials really, really is what you have to have a solid understanding of in order to get through that exam. So I still tell this story to a lot of people, and I tell you what, I have nightmares still about this exam. And mainly waking up thinking I failed the test and I got to do it all over again. But it's a great experience regardless. And the process itself is really, really rewarding, because the process really takes you to a whole nother level. The title just validates your hard work.
I will say we're doing a live stream right now. Chef Leonard just messaged and he said they need a Florida recount. I think they made a mistake on the exam.
Oh no!
I'm just playing.
I was just gonna say, that's really inspiring to hear, and I feel like anyone listening, whether they're in the chef world or maybe they were watching the Masters this last weekend, 4 days worth of grilling, grinding it out, and a lot of the preparation's been ahead of time, but then you get into the moment, that first day or that last day, and that, all right, we just have to put out our best work and get it done, and I can only do one thing at a time. What is the mentality, and what would you maybe tell somebody that's standing over that last putt on 18 in the Masters, or maybe it's that free throw to win the game in the basketball, whatever it might be? What would you tell somebody that's trying to get in that mental place where they know they have to bring their best work?
I will say, do it. You've mastered it. You worked really hard to get there. Go knock that thing out. Go for it with pride. Go for it with confidence. You can go at it timid. You can go at it scared. You can go at it doubting. And then what you're guaranteeing yourself for. But you're kind of giving yourself a little bit of a fair shot if you just kind of take some confidence in there with you. One of my coaches, when I was on the Olympic team, Jill Bolsich, she would say, be brave even if you're not brave. Don't let people know that you're afraid inside. Just be brave, So I think if you're that person standing there, like at the Masters, you got to nail that putt, and that this is your chance. This is a huge feather in your hat, another big chapter into your destiny. Go for it with pride. Go for it with everything in you. Do not let fear take it away from you. And I think fear takes away a lot of great opportunities from people, because they just ride the fear factor, because I guess it's easy. But to be brave and say, hey, I can do it. It's just, I think we all have that. We all have that strength within. You just got to do it. You just got to nail that thing like a jumper from Jordan or Westbrook or the top athletes. I know we like to use sports and stuff, but I think that's a perfect example, because a lot of times they have to stand on that line. It's just them, and they can either win the game or lose it. And I think if you go with it with everything that's in you, you work hard, you shot 1,000 free throws for the past 6 months, go knock that thing down and get it done.
Yeah.
And you talk about fear. I want to talk about this for a moment, because there is a certain type of fear which I struggle with to understand, and I even struggled with this personally at one point too. But the fear of success, it's a real thing. I don't know that people really identify it within themselves until maybe years later or months later from when it happened. But can you talk about this just a little bit? Because I believe you talk about this subject with even some students, culinary students, when you go around, you travel around and you talk to them at times, right?
Right. Well, the fear of success, so it's a quote out there that states about the fear of success, and it's real. And I think what people are afraid of is having to change their life to accommodate the success. Because just like here with you guys doing this grand venture with the Entrepreneur magazine and the podcast. This is a huge thing that is going to take off quite well for you guys. And you can't be afraid of what you have to do now. And it's going to interrupt your life in a good way. So that means you have to give up maybe spending some time with your buddies a little bit to work on some projects. Maybe you can't take vacations all the time like you wanted to. So I think young people tend to, or people up and coming into a field, they tend to suffer from this the most because you always carry the baggage of what people thought of you in your past, what you couldn't do, some of the failures that you naturally should have as a kid or a young person growing up. We all have to have failures to learn, but people use those failures to really scar you. And it's those scars that remind you that you can't do it. And because of that, knowing that you can do something is it kind of creates a sense of fear. Because now, when I had made the Olympic team, there was a fear for me. I did not want to not make the team, first off. But when you make the team, it changes your whole life. Now I can't go to my kids' recital, or I can't take my wife out on the date as often as I want. And so the sacrifices are there now. So with great reward comes great sacrifice. And I think the fear of success is just that. What are you going to do with it when it really happens? Now you're going to have to really work to maintain that success. One of the advice that I got from Chef Ken Arnone when we passed the exam, he said, if you think it was easy becoming a CMC, just now you got to live it. And I see it. I mean, it's you don't really have luxury for mistakes. You don't have luxury for, let me do it over again. You can't really make a whole lot of excuses. You can't make an excuse. You have to really deliver. And that level of success scares a lot of people. But it shouldn't. You should embrace it head on, because I think the fear of living with failure, forced failure because you didn't take that chance, I think that haunts you at night when you're in bed. I think that keeps you up at night far more than worrying about how I'm going to live being a CMC, or how am I going to live being the owner of my own restaurant or of my own magazine. So there's fear associated with both. Fear of success is one that holds a lot of people back, but fear of success is one that is an unnecessary fear. You don't have to fear that. You should embrace it because you can do it. You just have to change your life, and you have to make the right adjustments. And some of the old friends that you thought were your friends, they're not really your friends anymore. The things that you wanted to do, you can't do as often as you could. So the fear of success is there, but it's an unnecessary fear. All of it is unnecessary. People just have to just go for it and not be concerned about how it's going to be, but know that you can handle it when it do become reality.
Yeah. And Daryl, how would you gauge your own expectations in situations like that versus also the expectations of others, and living up to that, as now you have a really bold title to live up to?
So expectations, just first off, you should always expect more than everyone else from yourself. Your personal expectations should be higher than what anyone else can place on you, first off. If someone else's expectations of you is higher than what you have for yourself, then you got to rethink some things. So even if someone expects the most out of you, you expect even more out of yourself. So I think, that's the first thing that you need to have in order to deal with expectations. And then having the right people around you to support you as well. I think that's really important because, you really can't do this. You can't really do it on your own. You have to have people around you to really motivate you, to really, bounce ideas off of each other, to really, have that camaraderie where you're learning, continuing to learn and continuing to grow. And then you'll be able to live up to the expectations. But expectations, especially for me, has never ever been a problem because my expectations of myself has always been higher than anyone else's.
Invaluable lesson. Absolutely invaluable lesson.
Yeah.
And it may cause people to look at themselves in the mirror honestly and do that evaluation to figure out, are they holding themselves to the highest level, or Are they frustrated because other people have higher expectations and they have to reevaluate that? Absolutely an invaluable lesson. Now, let me ask you this. From a crossover standpoint, life in the kitchen as a chef, especially now at the highest level, when you look back at everything that you've done from the culinary standpoint and you cross over into your life, maybe it's your personal life, what are some invaluable life lessons that you've learned that have helped you since you've taken this journey of becoming a chef and now a certified master chef?
So many to choose from. I think for me, the one thing that I think for me that I had to learn was patience. Because if you look at it, we're currently living in a world where people think that they're on top of the world through how many followers they have on Instagram. And they feel that they earned the title of a celebrity chef. So celebrity chefs, everyone's a celebrity chef. And I think for me, that's a common thing. Everyone wants to feel like their journey is fast paced, that they are the prodigy, that they are the Apple of the world or the Microsoft of the world, but they don't realize that, Gates and Jobs, those guys had these ideas in their hearts from little teenagers, little kids. Before they even stepped into college, they had an idea of something vast and big, and they start working on it then. And here we are, 2017, enjoying that hard work. So I think patience was the one thing that I learned to accept, and I learned to love. Because whenever I feel like I'm not doing enough, I have to remind myself, hey, take your time. This is a race, this is a pace, not a race. And I think understanding that it is a process, and you have to take your time. You have to continue to work on it. You have to work on it every day. You have to maximize your time, and you have to work around people that is better than you and learn from them and humble yourself so that you can really take in the positive feedback that they'll give to you. The reward and the success will continue to come for you. So a lot of people keep saying to me, like, man, Shular, every day it seems like you got something else coming your way. It's because I practice patience. Because if you go slow and long, you just start to make higher steps slowly but surely. But if you try to jump up high really quick, there's only one way, and that's one way down really fast. And so you might be on top right now, but you're going to have a quick fall. So the one valuable thing that I would say that I've learned throughout my career, and especially transitioning over into my personal life, is patience. Every level requires a certain level of patience, but persistency as well. You have to continue to drive it, and you got to continue to push forward and make it happen yourself. There's a lot of people that can help you, but you have to make it happen yourself.
I couldn't agree more. Daryl, thank you so much for this conversation. It's been an absolute pleasure to connect with you. Where can people connect with you, and what do you have going on and see your career taking the next couple of years?
So over the next couple of years, I have quite a few opportunities coming my way, some very big opportunities that I'm working on. I think I mentioned this to Sean during our conversation back in November. I have a publisher now, working on a major book. And this book is going to make people look at Southern food. And the reason why I say Southern food, because, I just keep referring to my mentor, Chef Leonard, and he keeps posting things on Facebook and Instagram about his heritage and, that Italian passion. And, as an African-American, I want to be able to connect to that as well. I want to say this is my heritage, but what's really my heritage, is really not really clearly defined. But there is a common thread that connects back to my lineage, my roots. But I want to do it in a way where it's not painted under the umbrella of the negativity that's associated with it. But I want to show people that Southern food, soul food, if you want to call it, is if my ancestors had an opportunity to do it under different circumstances, what would we be putting on our tables today? And I want to show people kind of like an alternative society or an alternative world or alternative view of what soul food should be, what Southern food should be, really taking the true cooking techniques from West Africa and the different cuisines that they would have learned by being ambassadors with these other cultures from around the world that all migrated here to America for a new life. What will we be putting on our tables today? And that's the nature of the book that I want to present to the world, and I will. And it's going to really change people's perspective, and it's going to really make people sit up and say, you know what? I never looked at it that way. And who else better to do it than someone who's a certified master chef? So that's what I'm working on now. I am working on phase 1 of the Shular Culinary Institute. That's a culinary program we're working on now. We're planning on rolling out phase 1, which is a enthusiast consumer-based program that will be running out later this year at my culinary incubator here in town. My business partner is Janetta Patton. She's Usher's mom. I met her over a year ago, and we've been gradually doing some extremely great things. And so we're in the process of doing that. And a lot of little bitty projects that we just slowly working, like nice reductions of sauces on the stove, So I'm just so excited about the future, and I'm so excited about that this process has really paid off for me and my family. To come from a single mom, single household with just my mom, who unfortunately passed away last year, to be where I'm at to now, to provide a whole different world for my children, and not use the common excuses that a lot of people use. I just want to make sure that my life is an example for others. And so I'm just so happy to have this opportunity and be blessed to meet such great people and to be where I'm at today.
Chef Shular, you are an inspiration, sir. You are an inspiration.
Yeah. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for this opportunity. It's been great.
Absolutely.
Thank you, buddy. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.
So that was our conversation with Master Chef Daryl Shular. Sean, that was awesome. I had a blast. What did you take away from it?
So many points, Chris. I think one big one for me that he had said even when I talked to him back in November is that we all come equipped for the journey that we're going to travel. And I believe that a lot of people have innate qualities or characteristics, whether they're learned behaviors at a very, very, very young age that make them seemingly innate, or we're just born that way. I think everybody has these certain characteristics about themselves, and with very good self-awareness and becoming in tune with those, it can really guide and navigate them for their journey if they just lean into them. So I think that was something that was pretty impactful for me. The other one is the fear of success. This one blows my mind, but I've experienced it as well. And I think there are some people that are out there at times, and I'll even speak for myself, not even just some people, but I know for me at times, I held back from doing certain things, from putting myself out there. And it wasn't until I looked back at that situation that I realized I was not only afraid of failure, but I was afraid of what may happen in the positive and how that would change, even though I didn't recognize it in that moment. And I know it's crazy because in that moment way back when, I could have passed a lie detector test if somebody asked, how bad do you want whatever it was that I was going for. I could have passed it because I did want it. But in looking back, there was definitely something deep down inside where I was afraid of, if I did make it, then how was that going to change either my life or the expectation that people have of me? So I think that's something that is very real, and I think it's one that creeps up on people in a different way. It doesn't come to people under the context of the fear of success. It comes in, I think, procrastination. It comes in inaction. So for anybody that is in a frustrated state and they're trying to go after a goal, but they can honestly look at themselves and see that they are either A, procrastinating, not making the best use of their time, or in a state of inaction, I would venture to say that there might be a small fear of success. So that was a very big one for me. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, and just to touch on that a little bit, Sean, too, I think one of the other ways that we do that is by lowering the expectations for ourselves, or lowering the bar and not really putting it as high as it could be, which actually I think probably ties into what I took most from the conversation, which has to do with your expectations, and how Daryl said that your expectations need to be higher than anyone else's expectations for you. Otherwise, you need to maybe readdress and look at things. I think for a lot of people, and I put myself in this category as well, for a long time, is we don't really understand what it is that our expectations are. We do a lot of things based on what we expect our significant other to want from us, or our boss, or our customers, but we don't actually identify what it is that is kind of driving us and what that expectation should be. At the end of the day, we're like living our life for ourselves, and we need to really kind of, I think, hone in on that better. So I thought that was a really poignant point that he made that a lot of people probably just really don't even think about a lot of times. So, but that was one of many points I took away. We'd love for you to let us know what you think about the episode, about Chef Daryl Shular, and let him know on social media and in the comments here on the website or on Stitcher or iTunes. We'd love for you to leave us a review. And before we do the quote, Sean, is there any way for the listeners to get a copy of the Entrepreneurial Chef magazine with Daryl Shular?
Absolutely. Yeah, what I did recently was unlock all of the 2016 magazines. So Chef Shular is in issue number 5. So that is the November issue of the magazine. And if you download the Entrepreneurial Chef app, either in Google Play or the App Store, then as soon as you download it, you don't have to do anything else but just scroll down to see any of the 2016 issues. You can click the button Get. It'll download it immediately. Chef Shular actually goes into a full background. It's written in the first person, him talking to you, essentially. That's how we did that one. So you can get a full background of his story and what he went through and some of the adversity. So check it out. See if you like it. It was a phenomenal story that he shared with us.
Awesome. Absolutely. Very cool, Sean. And to close things out, here's a quote from Master Chef Daryl Shular himself. Be a tactician, be a skilled professional, but flip the coin over and be a strong, skilled business person and manage the bottom line and grow the business. And on that note, we're signing off. Until next time.